Well, we are live. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen from Southern Oregon. Hopefully, you guys are all having a good Sunday and a good weekend overall. I know this last week was one of the biggest in all of dirt car racing, right? With the Chili Bowl and stuff. And I know that the day after those events, whether you are, there or if you are, watching live on Flow Racing like a bunch of us were, it's that sadness that you have the day after like the Chili Bowl being over. I think of the Knoxville Nationals when we're pulling out of Knoxville at 5 a.m. because we slept a couple hours. And now with our schedule, we got to drive out to California. So you got to hit the road like first thing the next morning. There might even be a couple stragglers leaving the bar that you still see walking down the road as the sun's coming up after the Saturday of Knoxville Nationals. That's what this day feels like after all the big events. But how are you guys all doing? Thank you for joining us on here for our chance today to talk about 2026 for myself and Tanner Holmes Racing. Speak a little bit on Buch Motorsports, the team that I'm going to be competing with this next year, and then just talk dirt racing stuff. It's been a little bit of a slow start to the year for me. Obviously, I wasn't in Tulsa. Had a nice vacation about a week ago. Haven't raced since, I basically got back from New Zealand. I ran one kart race and then, had my New Zealand trip in December. So been out of the seat for a minute, but going to be back in the seat here very soon and looking forward to it. And once I get back in the seat, our season looks extremely busy, which is good. It's good as a race car driver to have a busy schedule. So let us know where you guys are all watching from on this day. I know that there's a lot of people here in the States, but we have friends down in Australia, obviously plenty in New Zealand, more after our trip in December, which we'll probably talk about that. I think I saw someone in the comment section talking about how was the trip, which we've discussed some on the channel, but our trip down under and yeah, what we have to come, which basically up next for us is going to be Florida here in just a few weeks with the Dirt Car Nationals. My first trip down to Volusia Speedway Park. Really looking forward to that. Volusia is a place that is, I mean, I feel like for a lot of guys, it's kind of an eye opener. It's a good way to start the season, but when I'm assuming haven't been there, but from sounds crazy to say, but from running some laps on iRacing and then watching some video, like the place is just fast in the shape of it and everything about it. It just shows like what a sprint car is and what a sprint car is capable of because of the speeds that you can reach and how fast you can go while next to other cars and clean and dirty air and all that stuff. So we have some people watching from Australia, Louisiana, Lawrenceburg, North Dakota, Coquille. That's over on the coast in Oregon. So that's a home stater. Northbound I-5, Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville, Florida. That's not far from where we'll be heading soon. When we go to Volusia, Watertown, South Dakota, Indiana, North Coast, California, Minnesota, and more. So welcome all today. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to open it up for any Q&A that you guys do have. Any questions on this upcoming season, racetracks that we're going to be at. Luckily, I have pretty good memory, so I actually know my schedule almost off the top of my head. I have a video that's posting tomorrow that has the entire schedule in it. I mean, it's kind of one of those. It's not really like an exciting video, but we just go through and say, talk about every date on the schedule, which to give some insight, I think by the time it's all said and done this year, will be about a 90 to 100 races. So it's gonna be action packed. I'm really excited about that. That like I said, that's a lot of opportunities to be in the seat, which as a driver, seat time is everything. When young kids come up to me and they say, Tanner, what's the best advice that you know, I could, what's the best advice you could give me? And a lot of times I say, hey, you just need seat time. Like seat time is everything. And however you can acquire the most amount of that, then you have more at bats to then start working on the skills. But if you're only in a car 5 times a year, it's a lot harder to improve than if you're, racing 30. And it's a lot harder to improve, at 30 than if you are at 60. And it's a lot harder to improve at 60 than if you're at 100. And once you get in that range of like, 50 plus, that's a good amount of races where, the playing field, it evens out a little bit. But definitely guys that race the most, right? They have a lot of opportunities to always, continue to grow because in racing it's not like baseball where we can just go out to a field and hit the ball or go to a batting cage or go to a football field or basketball court or something like that. Racing, you don't have as many opportunities to practice, so therefore it's just important to be racing as much as you can. Yeah. Kevin said, why didn't you ever concentrate on winning a California or West Coast championship? So for the sprint car, I guess for us, we just never did end up committing because we always wanted to venture out and dabble our feet in a different region, to head to the Midwest. Because, in my personal opinion, I feel like as a sprint car driver, it's so valuable to get out there. And so it was more valuable for us to spend a couple weeks and go out and race some and come back. And then the next year, try to do a little more and come back. And then the next year, try to do a little more versus, with the NARC schedule, it's obviously a little bit spread out. And so we never followed NARC. Also, there was maybe some tracks on the NARC schedule that maybe, weren't as appealing to some cars to go to and stuff like that. And so we just didn't really want to take our stuff to every single place, right? There's certain tracks we wanted to go to, and some places are just a little bit more of a loss for a team, right? Whether it's not the greatest conditions, the racing's not as good, getting there with logistically with our rig and stuff like that, different areas of the state. So we never really focused on that. And then, but that was the only one that really ever would make sense would be the NARC series. Where now, if I was, let's say I'm 15 years old now, maybe with where NARC looks like it could be this year, maybe it would be a year to go do it. I know as they're kind of evolving the schedule and it's growing. Um, and then, yeah, we were always doing more 410 racing when SECT. So, it just made sense to do that because you're trying to 410 race. So weren't committed to points there. And then, like with running like Skagit or something like that, it's just so far to run weekly. So for us, we were just never in a spot where it made sense to chase points on anything on the West Coast, really, I would say. I think on top of that too, actually, one more thing to add. I feel like some of the big races with just how things fell to stuff overlaps out here from time to time, and with where we're at, you just got to travel so much. So, yeah, that would be the main circumstances on why we never chased points out here, and we kind of always ventured out and dabbled in a lot of different areas. Lucas asked, when are you getting back in the car? And for anyone that doesn't know, so this year I'm not running the 18T. I'm going to be with Buch Motorsports. So our plan is to start here in Florida for the Dirt Car Nationals. The plan is to run the 410. We talked about the 360, which I don't really have an answer on that, but I know we're supposed to be there with the 410 for sure. So it's 4 nights. And then if the schedule works out, we come back and run Bike Week 2, which is the first week of March. So yeah, so we're going to get some races in here really early in the year, which is good. A lot of guys don't get to run. If you're a West Coast guy, you might not get to race till I think the first race is February 28th, which again is very it's slimmer chances weather-wise that's possible, but it's still a possibility. So, you get a couple weeks head start on those guys, you get a head start on a lot of areas. So it's nice to get down to Florida and just kind of start I guess knocking the rust off or whatever you'd want to call it, just start making laps and working towards the goal of building momentum and getting rolling through the season. So to get to do that with Book Motorsports is going to be fun. Someone asked if we'll be getting die cast of the boot car. We will. So that will yeah, actually I had a conversation about that a day or two ago. So that is the plan. Yeah, we'll have die casts and have some cool stuff like that. All sorts of our memorabilia this year, just like when we were with Tarleton or with Shark Racing, like whatever team we're with is kind of everything will be centered around that. This year's just even more different because obviously there isn't going to probably be an 18T racing. Um, at least with how my schedule looks right now. So, and if it was, it would be like one weekend. It's not like a lot of races. So, but we'll stay tuned on that as that becomes more or less of a thing. Someone asked actually a really good question. Running the family car, was it difficult to obtain 410 motors due to the limited supply and backlog? So yeah, right now I feel like people are running into that issue. I don't know. I mean, at least from what I've seen online a little bit. And then one something I have that kind of goes along with that is the second that I posted that I was going to have a new opportunity this year and all that, my phone and my father's phone and anybody related to our team that could get a hold of us or had a contact for getting engines. I think a lot of people assume that there was a chance that we'd be selling all of our stuff, which we are not. Uh, we had people calling all night, to buy engines, and we could have sold everything we had like right then and there because you just can't find them. Maybe like you could, and I think sometimes you got to be really careful. I think I don't say this to toot my family's horn or our team, but I feel like that we were a good enough team that people felt like we were reliable. Like if they were to buy an engine from us, that they knew they were getting a good product and it was well maintained and taken care of where sometimes on the market, at least right now, either people maybe want way too much for what they got, or it's a sketchier situation. You don't really know the history of the engines, the 410s that are out there. Again, of course, if it's not coming from a top tier team, but you don't see a lot of top tier teams have engines floating around on the market too much. I feel like it's all stuff that usually is happening behind the scenes if stuff's getting sold, or again, it's just not super existent. So yeah, right now it is the used market is definitely through the roof, pricing wise, and it's just because it's, to get a new engine is a year out or more. So it's an interesting dynamic right now in the sprint car world, and kind of unfortunate it's that way, but hopefully things maybe can change. I don't really know. I don't know. I don't have the answers to that, but definitely something that maybe some of the fans don't see is how difficult it is to get engines right now, and they're not just sitting there. So if you do hear of someone selling out, just like when people got wind that something could be happening with us, which again it wasn't, but man, the phone's ringing off the charts. Tyler said, with driving for Buch this year, any chance you come run PA Speed Week races in 2026? There's the 40,000 to win show at Lincoln and 20,000 to win Friday at the Grove. So yeah, we again, we'll have our schedule out right now. I feel like those races are kind of just up in the air. The most difficult thing, if I remember our schedule correctly, is we come from Montana the last week of June, and then PA Speed Week starts. So I know that we've had some discussions. We're just gonna have to see when we get closer. But trust me, if the team came to me and said, "Hey, Tanner, we can go make these races," like, "Hey, my hands up, let's go." So, and I think everyone's kind of on the same boat there. So we just kind of have to see where we're at in that point of the year, and then see where we're at, and then obviously look at the logistics of getting there, and if we can get to those races, and from where we're at with, because we got to follow the point series with high limit, and then if we can fill those in accordingly and we're prepared, I'm sure there's a chance that we will. So it's definitely not off the table, but it's not one of those things I could tell you right now for sure we're going to be at these races. We just got to see how those weeks fill in between all the high limit point shows. Lucas said, uh, is there any chance we'll be racing the 28th at Silver Dollar? Unfortunately, no. I don't think that's. Yeah, I do not think we definitely won't be there. Actually, I could probably confirm that. Just with my schedule, we're planning the next day. We'd be in Florida, so we will not be there. RCR mentioned about going to the High Banks Nationals. Again, I think nothing's ever off the table, but I'm not sure this year what we're kind of going to do. We have the High Bank Nationals. That weekend's off for high limits, so as a team, I think we're just still kind of wait until we get a little bit closer on what's going to be best to do that weekend. Ryan mentioned he's a local at Douglas County dirt track, and the weather's been beautiful lately, but been very foggy. I know. So here in Southern Oregon, man, it has been cold. It's been really cold. It's been a cold couple weeks and a lot of fog. We definitely we definitely couldn't be doing much racing right now. Unfortunate, I do wish I lived in a place where we could race a little later into the winter and then a little sooner in the year, but just kind of how it is. Mel, good friend of our family, he said, "How many yellow Pella fire suits and helmets do you now have?" Uh, right now, I do have some suits coming. I don't have them yet, but yeah, I have some. We're going to be representing all sorts of our partners. We have Pella, we'll have an Avanti, Jugo Superfoods. Really happy to be working with them. I'm sure you guys have probably, if you watched the Chili Bowl live stream, you saw the Jugo. I think they had a commercial, and the branding was on some cars and stuff like that. So uh, had the opportunity to try some of their product, obviously being a partner, so they sent me some stuff, and it's been great. Now it's part of my daily routine and all that. And when you're on the road like we're about to be, in a different way than ever before. I mean, I have a taste of what the road life's like and traveling, and done it a couple different ways, but what we're about to embark on is definitely going to be as close to, like, being on the road as, true being on the road as you can be. You got to have stuff, you got to eat good, you got to be prepared in all areas. So that's just you know, another thing that can be helpful. Zach said, "Will you be pulling the merchandise trailer around to the races?" Yes, so I will. Matt is a friend of mine. He worked for me all the second half of this last year, and then he'll be helping me all this next year. So he was helping with content stuff just to kind of take the load off there. And then I know that I'll have a handful of other people helping with the merchandise trailer, and yeah, whether it's, I know my dad, he's always the truck driver, so he'll probably help on some of the big long drives and stuff like that. I know he won't be at every race, but he'll come on in and help with some of the driving and whatnot. We'll all kind of between me, some people, my family, everyone, they'll be we'll all be pitching in, all hands on deck, just to different points during the year to make it happen. Wanted to thank you guys all again. We have 150 people on right now. Definitely keep throwing the questions in. Someone said the road is brutal. It definitely can be, I'm sure. Again, I haven't experienced it like a full season of it, but I know it can be. But I also, it's kind of one of those things. I feel like in life, it's all obviously what you make of it. So you just gotta find the good, and there's good and bad in everything, right? So yeah, I think it's gonna be really fun. A lot of learning, things to add to the notebook. It's kind of an opportunity. It's a challenge to take on, and again, I think, if this is the route for example, for myself, I want to be a professional race car driver. It's just part of the job. That's what Bobby Allen always told me when it came down to things. When I remember saying to him one time, I was like, man, it's so crazy, all the driving and stuff, that you guys having to drive out here and drive back when they were coming from Pennsylvania to the West Coast and back. And you just say it's just part of the job. So like the road, so that's what I always go back to when like it's like there's the stuff that's not as fun that you have to do, and what you do is just part of it. Someone asked, and I figured I would touch on it. I think I'm gonna have a video coming up, hopefully, maybe two. But people asking about Carly. She had put out a little post, but I know she's kind of had head down, working really hard lately. She's gonna be with Logan Schuhart in the 1S, so she's doing that right now, this next year, and she'll be kind of full time with the Outlaws and stuff. So she's gonna be extremely busy with that, and I'm really happy for her. It's gonna be cool that she's gonna be touring, and I know she's been working really hard back in the Hanover area, where they're located and stuff like that. So proud of her. Wish it could have, maybe. Obviously, you always want to stick together, but sometimes in racing, you just opportunities pop up in different ways for everyone. So for myself, obviously the 13 deal was just right, and she helped me quite a bit on the 18 to towards the end of the season, and obviously was getting opportunities for herself too. Someone said, if given the opportunity, would you do the Grand Annual Sprint Car Classic and maybe Classic Week? Absolutely. I actually was kind of hoping to maybe do that this year, and then the New Zealand thing kind of popped up, and it just worked a little better with my schedule. Um, but I definitely think in the future that's something I want to do. Whether it's, I mean, all of it, the whole international deal. Like, it was so fun going to New Zealand. I definitely want to go to Perth. Like, I want to do it all. And then on top of that, you still also like talk about like, oh, it'd be fun to do Chili Bowl again. And there's just not enough time in the off season for everything. But at certain points, I definitely want to, it'd be cool to have a busy off season where you could kind of do it all if everything was set up right and you were prepared, and again, kind of had everything in order too at home, to where you could get away during the off season and make it a big circle of things to do. Um, but yeah, definitely want to do the Grand Annual Sprint Car Classic. I mean, Warner Bowl just looks amazing. Like everything about it. I feel like they've done a really good job building that event up. Of course, Perth has done an amazing job over there. Like it's crazy what's going on in Australia. It's really cool to see. So definitely want to have that place on my bucket list, and want to see the country too, just like how New Zealand was beautiful, like it was. And I've heard a lot of similar things about Australia. Someone asked about the FS1 deal, and actually, I didn't read crazy too far into it. I don't know if there was more information than just what I saw, but looks like they're going to be streaming more races for High Limit, which I think is a huge win, massive win. I mean, really, more stuff on live TV for us to get exposure as teams, as drivers, for the partners. Like, I mean, again, there's not really a loss there. And I know it sounded like the numbers were pretty good for their Eldora show last year. So I think it's, yeah, I mean, I feel like the sky's kind of the limit. And I think, I mean, if they're wanting to do more races after just doing one, that obviously shows it was successful. So hopefully we can just top what we did already and have six really good shows and put on a good product, and then maybe six turns into 12, and that turns into, right, you see what I'm saying? Like the deal just keeps growing, and that gives more opportunities for everybody. That's where it's kind of like we're all in this together. We want High Limit to be successful, so then us drivers can be successful, and the teams can be successful, and the partners get the exposure, and then like the whole thing just grows. So think it's going to be really cool. Someone asked about if I've ran any tracks in Indiana, and if I have, which one was my favorite. Trying to think back, I actually don't think I've raced in the state of Indiana. I was supposed to run Hobstadt last year, but then when I was with Tarleton, but then we ended up going to Knoxville instead just to get the laps there. So that would have been the one time I was going to run in Indiana. I've driven through Indiana. We've been to a chassis dyno in Indiana. We've stayed there. Got to spend a little bit of time. Rico's shop was in Indiana, or it still is, but the one that he had, and we spent some time there when I was with the 21 car. But I actually, yeah, I guess that's one state that you probably would have thought I would have raced there, but haven't. Haven't been to Kokomo, haven't been to Lawrenceburg, haven't been to, which I'll get to both of those this year. Um, Quite a few other tracks, a lot of tracks in Indiana. Obviously, primarily non-wing places, but some of the most exciting tracks in the world, I think you could say. I mean, again, at least when you watch non-wing sprint cars at Terre Haute or I mean, even a place like Circle City. I mean, it's got a little bit of everything. You got your bull rings, you got Bloomington, Montpelier, Paragon. I mean, all of them. Um, some places that aren't as known, but they're all a part of the speed weeks and stuff like that. Indiana's a really cool state. I'm pretty pumped to get there this year and probably spend a lot more time in that area than I have before. Someone had asked about my New Zealand trip a little bit just to kind of talk about that. So yeah, I mean, the New Zealand trip was awesome. I had a lot of fun. Definitely want to go back. I know a lot of people. It's funny, like New Zealand people are so great. They're like, "Man, you really wanna come back? Like, that's crazy." I was like, "Why would I not?" Like, it's amazing. It's such a beautiful country. So, like, that's the cool I think it's really cool how you get to, like, go race, but then you also get to do fun stuff. Like, we were very well taken care of down there, and the team I was with, BMAC Racing Team, they were just a lot of good people. So, yeah, amazing country. I definitely wanna get back down there. Wouldn't even mind going to the same spot, even though we're already there. Like, this area we were in was really cool. The South Island was cool. I do want to go to the North Island because it was I mean, just you hear about it, right? And there's some tracks up there, Bay Park. Um, Gosh, I'm gonna blank, but the place that replaced Western Springs, or they've been racing instead. Maybe it's like Lucas Oil, or maybe that's the sponsor. I don't know. But there's a track in Auckland. And then obviously, if Western Springs ever open back up, I'd love to go there. So want to check off the North Island. Excuse me, at some point, and then again, like I talked about, going to Australia. So. Uh, we'll kind of just see what next off season brings. We obviously have lots of time. It's about to get full into race season, so you won't even be thinking about that. But it is nice to have something again during the off season. Just to kind of stay sharp, go race a little bit, have some fun. Do something that you always wanted to do. And so definitely want to cross all that stuff off at some point. But yeah, we'll think about that probably in 6 or 7 months. Once you get about halfway through the year, then you start seeing how stuff lines up for all your international travels. At least that's how this last year went for me when I kind of got a deal lined up. So get a little farther into the year, and then that stuff kind of just falls into place, and you kind of see what opportunities are out there. And if there is any other big races, I feel like right now it seems like Australia, they've still growing, but all their big races are pretty set. It just seems like they have I've been following a lot. There's that power tour going on. It seems like a lot of races going on in a short amount of time. So there's that. And then I know in New Zealand, like every year they have the title and maybe a couple other races, but all that stuff's really cool. And that's one of the things I love about those countries is kind of how they do some of that. And to be the one NZ or the one AU, and the two and the three, like, I don't know, all that stuff's really cool. So I do want to be a part of that a little bit more in the off season, because I feel like that's really fun, to have that for the country. It's just neat. Uh, Tyler asked, he said, odds of bringing the 18T out for a few races when you're not in the boot cars and there's no racing for them in 2026. So uh, it's definitely not off the table. I still have all my stuff. It's going to be, my goal is to, kind of have everything, even when I leave here, prepared to where if I came back to run, we just got to kind of see right now in the schedule that we have. Like I said, I'll have a full schedule posted tomorrow. I know Buch, I think they had already put some out on one of their social pages with a lot of the races we're going to run, but uh, I just don't know if there's going to be a lot of time, for that. So again, it's not a possibility, but it is also tough to, unless it's something really close to home, and with where we're located, it's not like there's just a lot of racing right in my backyard for when we're not racing out there, if that makes sense. So hard to say. But again, nothing's on or off the table. Like normal, want my cars prepared, stuff's ready, all that good stuff. And then, if it works out, I think of a race like the Trophy Cup, because obviously they're a Pennsylvania based team, and that's kind of a time of the year. It's right before World Finals, so maybe a race like that. But um, other than that, it's really hard to say. I think of also there's the Speed Week that goes through Oregon before Dirt Cup. Like it'd be cool to be at some of those races, but I think that we have races on top of it. So like again, it gets really difficult in there with how the high limit schedule is when we're racing a lot and it's pretty action packed. So yeah, again, I just don't think there's going to be a lot of those gaps. But if there is, we'll tackle that stuff as we get a little bit closer. Zach asked, he said, "Will you be in the 13 for 360 Nationals?" That is the plan. Yeah. So like last year, I think, yeah, actually, because we were on the same prelim night last year, because I think Dason and I were racing in the maybe it was a B main or something, but maybe B or an A on our prelim night. But yeah, so we'll run the 360 Nationals is the plan as of right now. So someone asked about the Trophy Cup. Are we going to see you race the 410 Trophy Cup Challenge this year? So just the Trophy Cup itself, I don't know. I know Dirt Cup's also on there. Obviously, that's up in the air, but there is the Gold Cup because that's on the high limit schedule. We will be there. Um, the challenge itself, I think it's all really cool. It's really neat that they're doing that. I give a lot of credit to put together the challenge thing that they did. We'll kind of have to see what they put out the big number, which is like it's either 50 or it's over $50,000 in extra money. I'm assuming, at least how I read it, if I read correctly, the extra money is going to go to like the guys that compete in every single race. And I'm assuming you accumulate points. Like there's going to be some sort of way where some guy wins that challenge. And so that's really cool that there's extra money, involved for the events. And I think that, that might help a little bit with car count, maybe. I don't know. We'll kind of just see. All those races are pretty spread out. Tulare to Skagit's like a 16-hour drive. So hard to say if guys are gonna, just because there's that extra money, they're gonna, if they weren't gonna go to one of the three. But but yeah, it's still really cool that they did that. And I think anything that's helping grow West Coast sprint car racing is a good thing. Now, will the 410s at the Trophy Cup be better than the 360s? We don't really know. I think we won't know until we just see how year one goes and car counts and if they adjust the format or what the Trophy Cup's going to look like into the future. I think it's going to be kind of a whole different kind of a new deal now. Again, being a 410 race, so uh, yeah, I think everyone wants to kind of jump on the it's going to be this or it's going to be that, and I think none of us really know. So it could be the best thing ever for the Trophy Cup, or it could be something that takes a couple years for them to iron out. So, but 410 racing is a good thing, and I love 410 racing, so I'm happy about that for sure. To have another 410 race, but you also feel for the 360 guys in that side of things too. So it's one of those you're never going to make everyone happy, and only time will tell what was the right move and how it's going to shake out over time. Appreciate all your guys' questions. A lot of really good ones today. Someone was putting some information because they said the Power Tour is the new tour, which is hoping to replace the previous. So, is the Power Tour? Let's see, Mitch, answer this for me. Is the Power Tour supposed to be like the World Series? Because so the World Series used to be back. Actually, I don't want to talk like I know. I just knew a little bit about it because I remember watching races from it on one of the old streaming services was on my YouTube when I was a kid, and I remember watching some sprint car stuff from that. Maybe it was 8 or 9 years ago. So let me know if the Power Tour is supposed to end up being like what the World Series was, which is a cool name, by the way. I thought for a sprint car tour, that's a pretty cool name. But I mean, both Power Tour is cool too. Someone asked if I watch the NHL. I do not watch hockey. No, hockey's a cool sport though. It's actually, I would probably tell you, it's probably the hardest sport from what, like, I don't know, because you have to be able to skate and hit stuff with a stick and like I don't know. To me, it seems like it'd be the hardest sport to figure out. You got to do two things at once that are both extremely difficult. Someone asked if I do run the 18T, will it be the same or different? It'll all be the same cars and stuff like that. Like nothing's going to be different there. The scheme, I couldn't really tell you at this time. Probably would be the same for now, I'm assuming, or at least it would be red because all my stuff's red. I don't know if it's going to have some fancy scheme, especially if we only ran, a couple races. But again, once we get a little closer, we'll be able to we plan all that out. Mitch said the World Series was the previous one, and that's what they're hoping it'll be. Well, that's cool. Good for those guys. Yeah, I mean that's really cool. It seems like they're racing for a pretty good purse in Australia. I don't know what it pays throughout the field. I just see the check that the winner's holding, but seems like every night they're racing for pretty decent money. So that good for those guys. I think I saw that Wade has a hand in that. So I mean, he obviously does really good work, and I know it looked like the speed week they had was really good, and obviously their series they're putting together has been successful. Someone said, "What is the track in PA to visit again, or a new track in PA?" Well, definitely Port Royal this year, and I'll get lots of experience there because high limit races Port, 8 times this season. So that's going to be cool. Haven't been to Grandview. Grandview is going to be a new track. I know I can't remember, but I feel like they say if Grandview is or isn't a part of Central PA. Maybe it is. I can't remember. PA people get like super territorial on like what tracks are and aren't in PA or what aren't in our Central PA. But Grandview is going to be cool. Um, just because it's put on a lot of good racing over the years, at least highlight stuff that I've seen. And I'm blanking. I don't know what other tracks and if there is any other. I mean, obviously we'll go to Lernerville, but I've been to Lernerville one time now. Uh, and then obviously I'll get to go to Williams Grove, but Williams Grove's not on the high limit schedule. That's just on one of our off weekends. Like, I think we're supposed to run the National Open, and maybe even the Summer Nationals. So two big World of Outlaw shows there that pay, more than the National Open obviously pays a lot. I think Summer Nationals is 20 grand or something like that. Will I be at the high limit race at Red Cedar? I will. That's the plan. Yes, that's on my schedule. Someone said if you weren't racing sprint cars, what would you be doing? Actually, I have thought about this because I get asked this more than you would think. Uh, Given what I feel like my strengths are, I feel like I'd be like some sort of sales guy. Probably, I feel like I'd be like a real estate agent. Is what I actually been telling people. And I actually seriously think I would try to do that. I feel like that'd be kind of fun. I don't know, because it's another thing too that you could make like content about and stuff, right? Like, and it'd be fun, like if you had like a lot of cool houses to show, and you could show like all the, like you have this big mansion or something, and show a video and be the realtor for it or something like that. I don't know. That's what I after thinking about what I do now and how I could take that to something else. I feel like that would be kind of fun. Someone said, "What's your comment on the incident at BAPS? I recorded in person that um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whole thing was just kind of an unfortunate deal. It's one of those things as a driver, the whole thing that happened at BAPS in November. Yeah, like I feel like I did get put in a really bad spot, but I own as a driver that I put myself in a bad spot to be I didn't get the start that I needed, which then put me where I was at. And then I made some poor decisions, which put me where I was at. So I don't know. I think every driver's different, but for me, like I try to look at like what can I do to be, what can I do to be better? Like I should have never been in that spot to begin with. So that's kind of how I look at it. And at that point, it just is what it is. You definitely though sometimes, yeah, like it was a frustrating situation that for a heat race we kind of both ended up backwards. But again, it's just how it goes. Someone said Grandview is just on the border. Yeah. Well, so yeah, that's where I just don't know. Like if I said Central PA and you say Grandview, I don't know if that's uh I don't know. Some people I've had people in my comments when I say the wrong like I was talking about Lernerville or whatever, and I was like, oh, this is in Posse Land, and people said it was not Posse Land. So I just find it funny. Like I said, some guys are in and some guys are out. I think I kind of answered this, but Mitch had said, "Would you do the Australian Speed Week, and would I do the Western Australia or the Queensland one?" So I'm open for both. Honestly, I have nothing against one or the other. I think it kind of sucks, obviously, that they're on top of each other, but I mean, the country is a huge country, so that's just kind of how it is. Um, be cool one year to do one, and the next year do the next. I mean, excuse me. Uh, yeah, I mean, I think they're both have really good things going on both sides of the country, so that's awesome. Yeah, appreciate you guys for being on the live today and everything. A lot of great questions here today. Tyler said, any plans to get closer to PA, or sorry, to get closer east to Indiana or PA? Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a conversation now for probably over a year for us. It's just figuring out what does in dirt racing your future just changes so quickly. So I think like we talked about that last year, but then I ended up in the 21 car for some races, so it made sense to be more out here. And then now obviously looking into this year, it's going to make maybe more sense to be out that way. So I think there is some accommodations in the area around the team that I'm going to be with, so that's going to help. But yeah, definitely in the cards to keep an eye out. Obviously mainly just focused on this season, but as we get through it, if the right thing popped up or get to the end of the year and the direction of wanting to be in Pennsylvania or wanting to be back in that area. I mean, I think no matter what, that's where you do want to be, but you just kind of see sometimes it's you kind of just have something set in your head and then see how what pops up right as you're going. Myers Motorsports says, "Have you ever ran a 600cc micro sprint?" It's crazy to say, but I have not. So I do want to get in a micro one day. Uh, Shootout looks like a lot of fun. There's just too many fun things to do in the small off season that we have. So hard to pick, because that's on top of all the international stuff and all that. But it does look fun to run all four classes there, and I feel like that would definitely be a cool place to do it. Garen said, "Are you excited to run Lucas Oil again this year?" I am. I haven't been to the Diamond of Dirt tracks now for probably almost 5 years. Only been there the one time when I ran with ASCS back when the Hocket, which we're running this year, was a 360 race. So ready, ready for that. Ready for that. It's going to be cool. The Diamond of Dirt tracks is a cool place. If you haven't been there, it's in Missouri. I'm going to blank on what city it's in, but Lucas Oil Speedway. It's a small, like in a small town, and it's just like the most amazing facility you've ever seen. They've really done. I mean, it's so top notch. It's like I said, it's hard to explain. I don't know if everything is still there, but when we were there, it was all paved pit area. You walk up, there's grandstands on both sides of the racetrack. I feel like there's suites down one side. It literally looks like a NASCAR track almost, like with the setting. There was a bass pond on one side, and I don't even know if it was a bass pond. There might have been fish in there, but I think they were using that for like jet boats or boat racing or something. There was an off-road track on another side of it. There was a car wash on site. It was just like it was crazy. So, I don't know. Oh, yeah, it's Wheatland. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't remember that. Um, so yeah, it's just an amazing place. Like it really is. So pretty excited about it. And getting back there will be cool. I had a question. Will Jessica, my girlfriend, will she be able to join you for a lot of the races? I think so. That's kind of how it's looking. She is pretty busy. She has a full time job now here, but luckily because she works 12-hour shifts being a nurse, she usually is working 3 days off. You get like 3 days on and then 4 days off. So we're kind of seeing how it just plays out with the schedule. But yeah, I think the plan definitely for me, like I'm sure I'll probably come back to Southern Oregon maybe once a month. And then if, she's able to come out once a month or twice a month, something like that, we'll kind of just see. Obviously, when I'm super busy in the heart of the season, I don't really have time to come home. And that's kind of not really your concern, but you do want to have some normalcy, I think, being on the road. So try to have some sort of regiment just to, it's probably nice. Like you're in the middle of it and then you get a chance to get away from it for a second, just to reset, go into another stretch of races, run that, come back, that kind of thing. So kind of just seeing how it plays out. But I'm really excited. She's definitely going to have more freedom this year, not being in school, now that she's kind of completed all that to come to a lot more shows. Oh, JT, he had a good question. What is your opinion on the new PA series? So I'm not in the middle of everything going on out there. So I feel like my opinion, well, I just don't maybe have all the information because I mean, I've just seen what's on social. I don't know any, maybe there's more backstory to some of it, but I feel like it was a good idea. I feel like it was a good idea. It seems like it's a lot of races. And I thought I saw that they took PA Speed Week off of it. So that helped a little bit, but it does seem like a lot of races, maybe. I guess I know some guys mentioned maybe seeing it more, maybe 75% of what it is or, 50% of what it is. But I thought it was a cool idea, and I think it's as a driver, you can appreciate seeing everybody obviously got in the same room to agree on something. And we just don't see a lot of that nowadays. So props to those guys. And it puts more money out there for racing. It puts more, opportunity for car owners, for drivers. The list goes on, and chances to grow the sport in what is the most popular state for sprint car racing. That's like a non-national tour. For local racing, you could say local and regional racing. So hats off to those guys. I thought it was a really really big deal, and hopefully it's something that can keep growing, and everyone has enough respect to not really step on each other's toes and keep working together to grow it. Because I know it's hard when you have that many parties involved. It's all it takes is one to get upset or feel like they're getting cheated, and things can kind of spin and spiral. But I think if everyone can agree and keep realizing that we're all in it together, I think that could be something really big in 5 or 10 years down the road. Let's see here. Aaron, we kind of answered it earlier. He had asked, will we see Carly this year with the new team? Unfortunately, no, she won't. I'm sure we'll see Carly, though, and I together because there's quite a few races we'll be in the same spot. But unfortunately, she won't be a crew guy set on my team that I'll be on with Buch. In your opinion, how sorry, someone asked about getting lost on our way to Eldora. Um, Eldora is an interesting one to go to. There's nothing anywhere close by. There's like a gas station or two, a couple minutes away, and there's a couple towns, maybe like I feel like 20 minutes away, but like the nearest hotel was I think almost 40 minutes when we stayed close to Eldora. So yeah, it's an interesting one. If I was talking to someone I met recently, and I told them I had been to Ohio, and I told them where, and they did not know where Rossburg or New Weston, Ohio was because it's just that small of a town. So yeah, it's really cool though, the location. I feel like it helps make Eldora what it is. But yeah, it's no joke. If you didn't have a GPS, it could be difficult to find. Just because everything looks the same. It's just farmland and fields for a good distance. Any chance you'll do any PA Speed Week races? We did mention that earlier. There is a chance. It's not on or off the table, but we just have to see how that fits with the high limit races, because high limit takes the 4th of July off, just like the Outlaws do. And so, obviously we could be free for that, but we're racing the week before in Montana. So we're going to have a trek to get there. So, I mean, it's not like we'd be running. I know for sure I could tell you it's not like we're running all of PA Speed Week. I don't even think the dates would line up with the high limit schedule. But there's a chance we definitely could run a couple of the nights. Someone said, "What are your thoughts on potential tire battle next season in 2027?" I've seen the American Racer is now. Oh yeah, American Racer is now the official tire of one of the series up, kind of up north, GLSS. So that is yeah, that's interesting. I'm kind of interested to see how this tire battle does go. I know there's some new players in the game. I know American Racer is making a push. Obviously, Hoosier kind of owns the market, so I mean, I feel like it's a good thing for us sprint car guys. I think it's good to have competition. If we have a couple different people making tires, and I preferably think it'd be cool to open the tire rule up. I feel like we should have more options on what tires we can run personally. When we were down in New Zealand, that was one of the things, like you could basically run any tire you wanted. And I thought that was cool. I think that could make the racing better. It could give more discrepancy between if a guy got his car off or on. Um, so yeah, but I don't know. I just think that would be I think having more tire players in the game would be big thumbs up. So we'll see what happens. I do think there's possibility in the future where we could see some of that. Someone asked if Carly will ever race again. I definitely think that it's not out of the question for her. Obviously, right now she's been super focused on working on cars and going down that path. And I totally understand. It's one of those things hard once you're out of the seat so long. It's hard to it's hard to get in and get out. You know what I mean? Like either kind of got to be all in or all out. Even when you're racing at more of a local regional level, like it's tough if you're only racing a couple times a year or you're only running a one-off deal. Like just to be in race mode, I feel like, and you get accustomed to what you're doing. So like if you're racing all the time, you're super on that. But I think it's easy once you're, away from it for a few months, all of a sudden it's like you got to find your footing again. And so yeah, I just feel like she's been so committed to like learning the complete other side of racing, and she's obviously really enjoying that. So yeah, I know she still like has ran some outlaw kart stuff this last year, and has talked about doing that. It's just schedules get so crazy, and when you're involved in sprint car racing at a high level, there's just not a lot of time for anything that's not what your job is really. Whether it's driving the car, working on the cars, a position on a team, like whatever that looks like, you know, there's just not a lot of time for anything but that, especially if you want to be really good at it and compete at a high level. Mitch said, "Have you heard about the potential new speedway that might be built?" Mitch, fill us in. If I'm assuming that's from Australia, where at and stuff. I personally like following that stuff as they're building new places. There's a lot of nice facilities over there, and we definitely don't have as many new tracks being built in the United States. I feel like, if anything, unfortunately, we've probably been declining a little faster than inclining with new racetracks. Be cool if we had some new places being built here. Maybe again, maybe the tide will turn soon, and with dirt racing kind of growing, there'll be more opportunities for more racetracks and new places. Trent said, "How has it been gelling with your new team over the off season?" Honestly, well, because of where my location is in them, I haven't really been with the team. We just spent that time after World Finals together for about a week, and that was kind of it. And then I'll see them here going to Florida. So um, again, pretty much haven't spent any time together, but obviously talked a lot, over the phone, all that kind of communication. And I think they're doing good. I'm doing good. It's just kind of like, hey, we roll in and we go race. And then obviously once the season starts, we'll be together quite a bit. And yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. There's not a whole lot other than that. And again, the off season's so short anyway. By the time you throw the holidays in and all that stuff, I mean, they've kind of had their heads down working quite a bit and then, take a little time off and then get ready to roll. So I felt like us getting those couple weeks around World Finals was pretty good and just about kind of all we needed to be on the same page and ready to go for a full year of tour racing. Daniel, we kind of answered this earlier. He asked, "Will we come back to New Zealand or maybe come to Australia?" Absolutely. I definitely see that on the cards for my future off seasons. I don't have anything specific, but definitely want to. The international racing was a lot of fun, minus the plane flight. The flight itself, well, the flight there was good because I was on a pretty empty plane. The flight back, I was in the middle seat, 40 rows back, and that was well, is part of the job. If you could name a if you could name a racing track, what is your favorite? Oh, I thought he was saying if I could actually like make a name for a racetrack. Favorite. I mean, I'm pretty biased. I love Skagit Speedway. You guys know that. I really love Skagit. Excited to be there this year with High Limit. Obviously, the Dirt Cup's growing. It's like not home because I'm from Oregon and it's in Washington, but it's like Northwest home. It's the whole region. Like Skagit's kind of our track. So I feel like when it comes to when you compare, Knoxville or Eldora, you know, I think it'd be probably unfair to say, I mean, like Skagit's just right underneath those places. Like I feel like it's a top 10 facility in the country and it's almost in the cards with those places. It's just Knoxville and Eldora kind of have the notoriety from the Kings Royal and the Nationals. And again, I'm a total homer, so maybe someone disagree with me, but I feel like Skagit's right there, and they keep putting in the work and stuff like that. They could definitely be, a crown jewel racetrack. I feel like they're really close. Again, right under Williams Grove, Knoxville, and Eldora. With those three big races. Let's see. Ooh, this is a good one. Someone was asking about Chili Bowl. Thoughts on Pursley penalized last night, jumping the start on CV, knowing that he said his car was having issues taking off and that himself felt that Pursley shouldn't have been penalized. Well, first off, I mean, Logan, good friend of mine, and he's a good, I mean, really he didn't have to say all that on that interview. And so I thought that shows a lot about like who Logan is. I mean, right? I mean, he heard Pursley's like one of his biggest competitors, and he was talking about how he felt bad for him and how it felt like it wasn't right and stuff like that. So I mean, applause to Logan. Again, I feel like it's tough in the heat of the moment, right? But for him to have said that, that was cool. I don't really know what they need to do there. I do like that the situation, how they have the rules is black and white. I guess the only way would be to fix it one way or the other is to either open it up and get rid of like the cone to where once the leader takes off, you can pass. Personally, I don't uh I don't love that in the sense of I don't like the whole leader goes, you go, because we've had that with the Outlaws. When we were in New Zealand, we had that a little bit too. And it just causes chaos on the start. When it's like the leader takes off, everybody could take off. Now, one thing they could probably do is, and I don't know, maybe this would be a good solution. Instead of doing a cone on the front stretch, you do a cone like the start line in 3 and 4, and you can't pass before that line. Like, I don't know, maybe the line just needs to be moved, right? And maybe it's in the center of 3 and 4, I don't know, but you wanna prevent something where, again, yeah, what happened realistically, Pursley should not have probably been penalized in that situation, like, in a perfect world, right? He didn't really do anything wrong, uh, but you also, I think, want to eliminate farther back guys jumping in and out of line. Because again, if you remove the cone, the farther back in the pack, I think it causes more problems. It might fix what's going on up front, but it could cause more problems back there. So maybe if you just move the line, again, closer to turn four, or maybe almost in the center of 3 and 4, maybe not the center, but you know what I mean? Like, most guys are starting early anyway nowadays. If you watch historically, all the starts aren't like guys are waiting until off a turn four on a restart. They're starting early because they're trying to get an advantage. So the line just needs to be somewhere different where guys can start passing a little bit earlier. But again, not I don't think you want the wild, wild west, because then you're going to have guys in 15th trying to jump 3 cars on the start, and it causes crashes, it causes problems. And then everybody's just like, bottled up. It's a disaster. I've seen that too. So I don't think you want that at all. Hopefully that makes sense. I think I'd have to think about it a little bit more, but honestly, since I was kind of thinking about that because I saw it all over social, and like what would be the right thing to do, and I think something like that would be the proper adjustment. Like, maybe there doesn't need to be a cone, but it just needs to be a line almost about where the start finish line is, and like once you get to that spot, you can pass. You just got to be able to pass a little bit earlier, but you can't have it completely opened up. Let's see. Is Oklahoma on your schedule besides the Chili Bowl? Man, I know I told you guys I knew my schedule well off the top of my hand. Uh, I feel like there is a couple races in Oklahoma, but maybe there's not. I know we're in Kansas, and I now that I'm thinking about it, I don't remember if we're in Oklahoma or not. I'll have to look back, but I know we're close to the area. Nathan said, "When do you think there'll be a new iRacing video out?" Unfortunately, I haven't played iRacing in a long time, and it's gonna get tougher going into this season unless I get a mobile setup in my pickup or something. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure, but probably no iRacing videos soon, unfortunately. Had a good question. Someone was asking about my mom. She's super involved, or has been super involved with the program and stuff like that. Yeah, you'll definitely see her in the merch trailer throughout the season, helping and whatnot. And yeah, both my parents have just, been tremendously huge in my racing career. I wouldn't obviously be where I'm at without them, along with my, other family members. Both my sisters, made tons of sacrifices where we went racing instead of doing other stuff, or Carly, didn't race as much so I could race more. And excuse me, yeah, just all my close family has been a big part of my racing. And so, yeah, you'll definitely, see them at different races and whatnot, and throughout the season. So, yeah, THR, even, our family program still continues, just in a different way, with a cool opportunity here in 2026. Someone asked if I'm going to Daytona. I wish. I actually kind of forgot that since we're down there, Daytona is happening, maybe the weekend after. So unfortunately, probably won't stay around for that, but it would be cool. I don't know. I guess I hadn't even thought about. Maybe I need to put more thought to it. Maybe we will. Someone asked about Lakeside. I believe we have Lakeside on the schedule twice this year. It's either once or twice. One late in the year, and then I thought there was one early in the year, but maybe there's not. But we're for sure at Lakeside once. Someone asked if there's gonna be a new design for the 18T. Unfortunately, probably not. Just because I don't even know if it's gonna run this year, or if we're gonna have any races or any openings. So, if we did run, we probably would just run everything we have, because we obviously have leftover stuff from last year. So, um, but you never know. You never know. Someone asked about, oh, yeah, never mind, I already answered that one about Volusia next month. Yes, we'll be at Volusia. For sure, the 410. So plan on that. There is a 360 race the week before. As a team, we discussed it, but we don't have any confirmation if we're going to make that or not. Mitch, who was talking about that new Australian track, he said it's called Morton Motorsports Park. The speedway is kind of going to replace Archerfield Speedway. It'll also have a supercross track in it as well, and be privately funded if the council approves. Well, that's really cool. Kind of sad. bringing up Archer Field, I totally I mean, I didn't forget about that place, but I hadn't thought about that in a while. And I remember, Archer Field was a very popular racetrack, really cool place in Australia. I remember watching some highlights there. So, uh, wow, yeah, that would be cool if it was, mimicked the shape that Archer Field had. I think it was Donnie or whatever would go there a lot, and I remember watching one year when Donnie dominated that place, for a couple races in Australia. Tyler asked, any of your sponsors also going to be on the Buch Motorsports car? Yes. So still figuring all that out, but I have Sisters Meat and Smokehouse, which they are a local company here in Oregon, over in Sisters, Oregon, a couple hours from where I live. Beautiful town. If you ever get the opportunity and you're driving up, I think it's not I-5. I-5's kind of more closer, not to the coast, but it's west side. If you go a little farther east into Oregon, I think it's up Highway 97, kind of that direction, past Bend or around Bend. You have Sisters Oregon, and they have their smokehouse there. So Sisters Meat and Smokehouse, they are going to be on the car, and then also ABE, a lender Butsky Engineers out of Des Moines, Iowa. They're going to help me, and I had a couple more partners that are kind of still pending. So obviously the 18T had a ton of logos, so I'm not able to bring everyone, but I'll definitely have some partners that are gonna hang out for the fun, and then even some of that aren't gonna be on the card, but they're still part of the journey, right? And been super helpful to help get here and yeah. So no, we just got a lot of great people in our corner, and then of course Book has all their partners that they've had from previous seasons that are going to be helping as well. So car's going to be plenty full, and we're going to have a lot of people that are they're helping us towards our common goal that we're trying to win races. Someone said Hoffbeck Motorsports said I should host an iRacing race again. We were just talking about iRacing. Unfortunately, haven't played in a long time, but I don't know. You guys have to let me know. Is it still kind of the same as it was a couple years ago? I know they've made lots of changes and lots more tracks, lots of places I haven't even ran. But always enjoyed hopping on there, man. What I would do to probably be, 16, 17, 18 years old again and, come home from high school and play and during even the pandemic and stuff when we had a lot more time on our hands, and no one could leave their house. We'd just play and race all day long and good times. Jimmy said, "What is a long-term goal for the 18T? Will you eventually go back to running your own car after getting some experience?" I think, I don't really know, actually. I think at different points, your goal looks differently. At certain times, I wanted to only run my own car, and then, obviously became open to, wanting to run other cars. Um, yeah, I think it's so tough in today's day and age to have your own program, and it's definitely not impossible. There's a lot of guys that do it really well. I just think for myself, like if I have an opportunity to get in a good car so I can go out on the road, it'd be good to do that. And then, you never know what that leads to, whether it's more opportunities or opportunity with the teams that you're with, or again, the sky's kind of just the limit. But I just thought with my own car, it was going to be really hard to kind of break through to getting on the road full time, like where I wanted to be, or to get to that. I don't want to say the level because even this last year, I mean, we raced at a really high level. We raced a ton of shows. I mean, everyone we pushed really hard. We did even with probably a little less help than we would have liked. Everybody kind of just pitching in, like I said, whether it's my family or myself, or we find someone on a weekend, like a friend, to come help. So it's just tough to build to the level of like, having full time guys and stuff, especially being from Oregon. Um, not getting out to the Midwest, not being from the West Coast. So yeah, that's why this deal with Book just kind of ended up making sense as it became available, and yeah, so that's why I'm really excited for it and want to just make the most of it and gain experience, and if it ends up working out where I can be with I obviously want to have a long term relationship with teams that I drive for. Been very fortunate that the last two teams, Tarleton and Shark, they we had good runs and it was a lot of fun and ended on good note, good terms and stuff, right? Like kind of on to the next thing. So yeah, definitely want to continue that and yeah, so if that means that I end up not running the 18T, then that could be that, or you just never really know. It's so hard to predict the future in this sport, right? Things change in an instant, and all you can do is your job and what's ahead of you. Mitch said Archer Field was his home track. Donnie lapped the entire field one time back in '09. The person who was going to build it said it's going to replicate. Parramatta Speedway. I've heard of that. I've heard of that racetrack. Don't know a lot about it, but that is really cool. Someone asked if we ever get the chance to have private practice sessions in the cars that we run. We don't. I mean, well, I shouldn't say we don't. Some guys do test from time to time, but it's not, it's not something that's just easy to do. It's more time. It costs a lot of money, to do a lot of time on equipment, all that stuff. So it's not very common, I feel like, for guys to test, but a couple times a year, whether it's like Knoxville, guys will test there, and then maybe a few other racetracks, but it's not again super common. Ooh, Tyler said, where in your opinion do you like the number on the wing to be located, front or back? Um, everyone he said when his father raced, numbers were always on the front of the wing. Personally, I think the numbers look better on the back. So that's just I shouldn't say all the cars that I drove had that because I guess like I said, I think yeah, the 21 car was in the front, the 1T was in the back. All my cars have been in the back. So yeah, I don't know. I think the numbers just look better. I think they just look better in the back personally. Mitch, member for 12 months. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. We're probably going to wrap up here in a minute. It's been a really good hour, man. Love talking with you guys. I feel just getting to talk about everything this next year. Like, obviously, it becomes more real and just, I mean, I try as a driver. I don't want to keep saying like how excited I am, but I am excited that is how I'm feeling. But you guys keep hearing that over and over again. But lot to look forward to, and a lot of cool content that is, we're gonna get to do, and just a lot of real things. Like I said, life on the road. We'll share that with you guys. We're gonna obviously be running a lot of races, a lot of new racetracks. Full time with high limits. So all that stuff's gonna be right here in front of you guys, and hopefully a lot of you guys watching will have a chance to make out to many races or one race and always feel free to stop by after the races or come see us at our merchandise trailer or whatever. We're just normal people, and we love the sport, and we love that you guys love it with us. So we appreciate you guys being part of the community and what we do, and yeah, just looking forward to it. Again, stop by, say hi, take pictures, hero cards, all that stuff. We welcome you guys and appreciate your guys support. So I'm going to sign off for that one. Thank you guys. We'll have a new video out tomorrow on our schedule, so stay tuned for that. If you want all the dates, we just, I sit down and walk you through the dates and stuff like that, and then we'll have some more stuff later this week as we get ready to head to Florida here very soon. Thanks, guys.